Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Pivotal Change. We're going to be kicking this episode off with a very familiar face. This is a show that is all about entrepreneurship, leadership, influence, and any of the things that can make you grow and successful by making just the one or two pivotal changes you need to continue to accelerate your path towards success. We've got Will Klusowski back with us tonight, and he's going to be talking about how to make some of these changes in our life. So, Will, welcome back on the show, sir.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for having me. Looking forward to chatting about this.
Well, absolutely. Well, I want to jump in with this because you really help your clients in really a multitude of ways, and it all drives towards a single point. But I can imagine that when you get into making changes, identifying things for clients to help set up systems and do stuff, that oftentimes, like an author or a writer, people can get writer's block, and maybe there's some issues with creativity, outside the box thinking. So I want you to kind of go over with our audience for us. If people are struggling to find innovative solutions, ways where they just feel like they're stuck in the loop. Maybe they're stuck in the traditional way of doing things. What can somebody do to take steps to foster creativity in their work or their operations?
Yeah, it's a interesting problem because it's kind of you talk about being creative and coming up with out of the box solutions. And I think the foundation of it still rests mostly in having the ability to think critically and solve problems. When I, a lot of the aspects I look for when I'm hiring people is that's like the number one thing. Like I can teach you how to push certain buttons, things like that. But like, can you solve a problem? Do you understand what what you're actually doing? And so I think that's really what it comes down to is when you're given that situation of, okay, I really don't understand what's fully going on here, or I don't know how to solve this problem, being able to reach out and think logically about it, break it down into what are the steps, what's happening, who else can I get involved? A lot of times, I as a writer as well, that's something I deal with. Leveraging things like AI is actually pretty useful to like kick writer's block or get things going. It's your own little personal Peggy from Mad Men. A lot of times I like to say, I can get some ideas from that to kind of look at things, talking to others that have kind of dealt with similar solutions. I think that's kind of it. But it does come down to fundamentally understanding what the problem is and not and then that and from there, like, okay, how do we solve that problem?
Got you. So that is some really good advice. So I really like the part about breaking it down and defining the problem. And then you're talking about maybe identifying resources or people or needs that once you've broken this down into steps, what do I need for each one of these steps? It really is helpful to bring somebody else from the outside. Maybe you're stuck in your way of thinking, whether you want to or not. You are you, and you may have your own biases or a little bit. So maybe somebody from prior experience or even a different industry that just thinks differently than you. It can be like, have you tried this? And it sounds crazy, but it ends up being the solution. So those are all really good ideas. And of course, I think with AI technology, kind of, we've had some discussions in the past. That can be an easy button as long as it's not a crutch to help stimulate thinking, stimulate solutions, or again, what a massive database that's out there that it's pulling from just to tell you what other people are doing. So that's pretty profound. I hope people paid attention to that and wrote that down. So let's say somebody is going and they write down the problems, they follow some of the steps you're taking, and they say, "Oh, well, this looks like the obvious path, the obvious solution, the option for solving this." And as they try it and implement it or gather resources, it's just not working. What do we do when what we thought was obvious turns out not to be successful?
That's I think that's something that that's where innovation thrives really because a lot of people there's a lot of common problems that technology or solutions, whatever your services have been created to solve. And so we kind of get in that comfort zone that, okay, well, this is the problem and here's how you solve it. But people forget that everybody's business is different. Everybody's lives are different. So which is why we see so many different technologies in the same sort of space. I talked about this with somebody earlier today about governance, risk, and compliance as an example. There's a plethora of products out there that can solve part of that GRC problem, but some of them are focused on getting you compliant really quick so you can go sell stuff. Some of them are focused on actually managing the program. Some are focused on helping you plan and get budget. Some of them give you, I mean, they're all under the same umbrella, but they do different things. So I think the first part of this is to understand is like, well, okay, I have this problem. The problem is X. But for my business, how exactly is that applied, right? So instead of just assuming, oh, we've got this X problem, what exactly is the problem inside the business? Where are the challenges coming from? Who is this impacting? What happens if I don't fix it? Who's going to be mad? And then maybe talking to them. So I think that's really what it comes down to, is taking that what seems to be the most obvious problem and obvious solution, and really thinking about how to apply specifically to your business.
Okay, so echoing back a little bit, you're saying let's personalize the problem more as maybe
100%.
one of the first examples of like how to reevaluate. Because again, in the accounting world, of course, we need a tax software in order to prepare tax returns. Guess what? There's probably four big boys out there that offer software products and dozens of other smaller ones. Well, maybe one of those larger companies is not right for the fit of my culture, my people, the level of experience, or the style of delivery that I do. So I need to
Hmm.
personalize the problem and don't just go, this big boy software problem is going to solve it for me, when really I need to personalize it. So I like that a lot. That's really good thinking and good advice, because that seems obvious, but it might not just be right for me, and making it tweak. And I think it's important for people just to hear the information that you just said, because it's not a one size fits all solution. Even if you're same industry, this construction company versus that construction company, the little shift in dynamics, big town versus small town, even if you're in the same county or state, can be drastically different. New York versus California versus Florida, there are going to be a lot of different solutions for that. So I really appreciate you pointing that out. That maybe obvious isn't exactly that obvious, and you need to go into the more of the bigger dig into customized solutions. So very good. So some of what we're talking about, personalizing it to you, coming up with these solutions to where we write it down, we come with action plans, we identify people, resources, everything we just talked about. Do you have like a good example, a good story you could tell us with a client where you applied these, you got to that outside the box thinking, that innovation, and it led to some type of breakthrough or high scale success?
Think the example that I can think of most, I don't know that it's a breakthrough. I mean, we see breakthroughs all the time. If you look at like Post-it notes and Velcro and like kind of all of those kind of happy accidents that produce something. But I do remember when augmented reality, which for those, it's when you like kind of hold your phone over something and then you can see the Pokemon Go. That's the best kind of explanation everybody understands. Before that was a thing, I had a potential client ask me about it. The New York Metropolitan Museum had it, and it was kind of neat because you could go up to the exhibits, hold your phone up, and it would tell you all about it. And so this client I had was thinking about that for their business, and they were like, "Well, from a security perspective, what does that mean?" And it was literally the first time I'd ever heard of it. It wasn't something that anybody had ever really done before, and I didn't know anything about it. But I understood networking, I understood security, I understood programming and coding, so I could pretty much like fathom out, and I told him, "I'm not 100% sure how that is. Tell me what it is." Okay. Well, I can ascertain, assume that it probably works this way. Here are the things that it's doing. Here's how it's connecting. Here's how, and knowing what those things are, I can probably figure out where the risks lie, right? And so immediately being able to take all of the cursory information I have and being able to put that together and say, well, you brought something new to me. I have no clue, but I'm pretty sure this is how it works. And if you want, we can go dig into it. And so from a breakthrough perspective, that's a success story I like to tell because it made me feel smart.
Well, I like that as well. Well, again, you say it made you feel smart, but I have a little definition of wisdom that I share with people. And wisdom is not knowledge. Knowledge and wisdom are similar but different. But wisdom is taking the knowledge to a different area of experience. It's taking the lessons from one facet of life and applying it to a different facet of life. What went well here, and how can I duplicate that in other areas? What went wrong, and I need to avoid that in other areas. So you give me a good little twist on the outside the box metaphors. You had a box, but somebody literally came to you with a new box. You
Right.
had to take the similarities in your existing box and apply it to the new box. So that was a pretty. I think that is a success story, that you're able to take something that's revolutionizing the industry, use your wealth of knowledge, your experience, and say, well, here's the common components. Wisdom says we need to apply that in this area. Of course, there's going to be some new challenges and some tweaks and changes, but if a client of yours has that same problem, you've now got the story you can relate to and say, let's take what we know, take the experiences we have, and apply it to the situation. And again, had you not done what you told us on the first part of the segment, is go through that plan, go through that
Hmm.
process, and break down those steps. I think you sold that image to us perfectly. That's very good. So when does somebody try to do it? How long should last? Just a quick little answer here before we cut to break. How long should somebody try to struggle to figure it out themselves and break it down in plans before they say this is big enough? I need to recruit experts and other outside resources.
Um, I, I think there's a pivotal point of, is it worth your time, and do you understand that your time is worth money? And the example I always give is, I'm a handy person. I've replaced my microwave in the past. Last time it broke, it took me a whole lot of time and I was in pain, but I got it done. And the next time I did it, I paid some guy 150 bucks. He was here for 15 minutes and it was done. And I think that's the perfect analogy for it. It's like, well, an expert's going to come in, get it done. They know what's going on. It's going to be no pain to you. So, really, if you're DIYing it, to what extent? That's what I would say.
I like that. So examine the problem as if this was my broken microwave. Would it be worth my efforts? I like that. But we're going to stick a pin right there. We're going to jump to a commercial break. We'll be right back with more Will. Everybody buckle in, sit tight. We'll be right back after this commercial break with more pivotal change.